This is Alex from phpacademy.org with another video for the new Boston. This time we're going to be talking about do-while loops. Now we've looked at while loops and this is the previous example that I showed. It basically counts from 1 to 10 and displays hello for each increment or each time the block is executed. Now a do-while loop is it's very similar, except it has one minor difference, and that is that we don't check the condition if the condition is true or false. We don't evaluate a condition at the start, we evaluate it at the end. So the do-while loop will always run the block once, and if this isn't making sense, I'll show you. It's do while then the condition. So we always execute at least once in here before we test for a condition. So for an example, let's echo this will always show. Okay, so while 0. Okay, so do while 0. Remember in the last example when we did the while loop, I put 0 in and nothing happened because we evaluated it to false, therefore the block here didn't run. Now do, we're going to echo this, then we're going to make an evaluation, and if this equals false the second time round, we're not going to echo this out. So we can forget about counter for now, that's irrelevant. Let's refresh, and you can see this will always show, because it will always show. However, if we wanted this to display 3 times, for example, we reset up our counter, or we can do it 10 times. So let's break and we can change this to once. This will always show once. So despite what our while thing is, this will always show once. Now let's create a condition. So while counter is smaller than or equal to 10, under here we're going to say counter plus plus. So we're doing exactly the same thing as we did with the while loop, but while counter is smaller than or equal to 10, this will always show once. Let's refresh. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's shown 10 times. However, if this at any point evaluates to false, we're always going to show the first one. So why is this useful in programming? Like, why would you want to do it? Well, you might not be able to think of an example offhand, but you may have an example, you may come across an example in programming when you're maybe creating something for yourself or someone else, where you think, oh, I need to show this once and I need to make an evaluation. You're going to think about the do while loop, because you're going to loop still, but you're always going to show at least one thing or process this block at least once. So that's basically the do while loop in PHP. Hello, this is Alex from PHP Academy with another video for the new Boston. In this video we're going to be looking at the third and final loop in PHP, and this is the for loop. Now for is a bit more complicated in syntax, and by this I mean it's structured slightly differently. So if we use the for keyword and we create a block, you can see that it's very similar to a while loop, or sort of similar to a do while loop. However, what we're doing is we use 3 expressions within this these parentheses. So we use 3 different expressions to control the loop how we want, and we can also increment a value within this as well. So in here all we need to do is echo something out, either a variable or some plain text, or continue an operation, however your program is eventually going to work, and everything can be controlled within here. So for now I'm going to create a variable called count, and that's going to be equal to, in fact no, the reason I'm not going to declare it out there is because, like I said, we control everything within here. So I am going to call my variable count. I'm going to append a break onto that so we can keep track of it neatly. Now I declare my count variable, or I assign my first value to it in here. So I say count equals 1. Okay. Now what I do is I put a semicolon, and then I say what this is basically the next part of the expression is what needs to be evaluated, true or false, to determine whether the block should run. This block should run. So count, while count is smaller than or equal to 10, like we've done in the previous examples, and then we say count plus plus. We don't need another semicolon to end here, it just ends. So what we're doing is, let me just separate this out so it's a bit more easy to read. Okay, so we're setting initially our count variable to equal 1. Then we're choosing this, we're creating a condition that needs to be true or false, and then we're incrementing here. And the way that a for loop works is, this is executed, then this happens, then the block runs, then we increment here, okay? And then obviously this here will be ignored because it won't reassign the variable. So now you can see it's just a completely different structure of creating a loop, but it has exactly the same effect. If we refresh, we're just counting from numbers 1 to 10. Now the beauty of doing something like this is it's a lot easier to read. We can also obviously assign this on the fly, it's neater. As well, if I was to just simply change that to greater than, this to minus, so that's decrementing it, this to 1 and this to 10, now what we're doing is we're counting from 10 to 1. So we've just changed them three parts of each expression around, where we're saying count is equal to 10 initially, while count is smaller than, or sorry, greater than or equal to 1, decrement until we reach 10. The condition until we reach 1. The condition is until we're still greater than or equal to 1. We still execute the loop and we still echo. So that is basically for loops in PHP.